While locked down in my hostel, I haven't seen this traffic light change colors in 6 weeks. Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to this abbreviated edition of Borders on Budgets from a still deserted Kolkata, India, as this country continues to combat COVID-19, the coronavirus. This is Sunday, May the 3rd, 2020, and day 40 of India's lockdown, nationwide lockdown, to combat the coronavirus. This should have been the day when the extension to the lockdown was lifted. However, India will extend the lockdown for an additional 2 more weeks until May the 17th. Milk, the essential component to chai, India's sweet warm tea. This chai shop has been much busier than I thought at 5:30 in the morning. So the recent developments in India is that the country has now been divided into 3 sectors, red, orange, and green, and within each sector that will now allow the mobility of citizens and commerce, and the sectors have been divided according to how strong or how weak the virus has hit in these particular areas. Kolkata is deemed to be in the red zone, one of the hardest hit areas. Yet if Kolkata is deemed to be a hot spot, the numbers actually don't seem to be that large for how many people have either died or taken seriously ill in the city and by extension the entire state of West Bengal. In a population of 100 million West Bengal, there have been only 1,000 confirmed cases and about 100 deaths during this 6-week period. And for all of India, the number of confirmed cases has been about 38,000, with 1,200 deaths in a population of 1.37 billion people. There has almost been a national sense of pride given the low fatality rate in India, but even if the numbers are viewed with some skepticism, again, only 1,200 fatalities in a population of 1.37 billion, there are no warm countries, hot countries on the planet that has a fatality rate greater than 0.01%, or 1 in every 10,000 people. And by comparison, that statistic is the same as in Germany, Canada, and the United States, excluding New York City. The purpose of the lockdown was to buy the Indian government time in order to accumulate resources necessary to treat what was anticipated to be a mass outbreak of patients. And the resources, of course, needed would be beds, ventilators, ICU units, and medical staff. That pandemic, however, fortunately, has not panned out. This lockdown or stalling tactic to flatten the curve and the growth of coronavirus seems to have worked, that now this country has approximately 150,000 beds, ICUs, and ventilators, while the exponential growth of this virus, that was the fear, has now increased its doubling time to over 10 days, and of the present 38,000 confirmed cases, there are only approximately 5,000 that would deem to be serious. So now that the country has the capacity to treat 20 times more victims than it presently has, what's the end game for India? Yes, again, it's been divided into red, orange, and green zones, but how does a city or a district now become less restricted in its movement and move between the color codes? A district moves to the green zone once it has achieved 0 cases over a 21-day period. And if that seems quite restrictive, yeah, to this layman it would. Even under the best circumstances, government officials, when they first implemented this lockdown 6 weeks ago, could not have envisioned that India would have only had 1,200 deaths for its population. So why 0 cases over a 21-day period when flattening the curve was intended to build up the country's resources, which it has? Well, I've seemed to gravitate towards my favorite fruit and vegetable stand corner in the neighborhood. During this lockdown, particularly hit hard have been the hundreds of millions of migrant workers. Migrant workers in India are those who have traveled from the villages to the city for day labor, and in the absence of day labor, they've been having to rely on government subsidies for food and hopefully have been able to find shelter without being able to pay the rent. Tea? Yes, please. Sure. While I can't speak about Indian domestic politics and policies, within Western countries, particularly the 6 that have been affected the most, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Germany, and Spain, there is a concern that an extended lockdown has now impeded upon individual liberties and freedoms when in these countries the number of people who have been affected, seriously affected by COVID-19, whether either through deaths or through serious illnesses that has resulted in hospitalization, that has been less than 1 in 2,000 people. So remember that if there is a quarantine, it is the sick and the vulnerable who are isolated. But it is in a tyranny that an entire society is locked down. Thank you for letting me share these statistics and my thoughts about the coronavirus here in Kolkata on what is day 40 of the lockdown on Sunday, May the 3rd, 2020. And certainly during this period of lockdown, I will attempt to upload other stories as they come. Please check Borders on Budgets for future episodes on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thank you very much. Well, seeing as that I'm here, I might as well pick up some vegetables. The carrots, they're 40 rupee a kilo. That's about 60 American cents. And this cauliflower and all of its roughage, 30 rupee or 50 cents.